Bit Nerds is your YouTube car game show.
I thought it'd be fun to check in on a 2008 BMW M5 that is the generation E60 with the V10. Our car, JP, looks black. When I selected it, I thought it was black, but it's actually Monaco blue metallic, which is super, super dark. Black interior. JP, our car has 68,000 miles and a 6-speed manual transmission listed on Cars and Bids out of Hesperia, California. This looks like a no-nonsense, fair mileage, very rare manual V10 M5. JP, I just thought this was sort of like the market you were looking at when we looked at that M6 convertible. But this is the previous generation car with the naturally aspirated V10. I had one of these. I had a 2010 with the SMG. And I had very much a love-hate relationship with that car. There was things about that car that I absolutely adored, and there were things about that car that were just like, oh my God. The transmission obviously was one of them. The run-flat tires were a pain in the ass. But it's an unbelievable driving machine, and the sound that it makes is glorious. And today, JP, these can be, talk about a baller on a budget. For the same kind of money that you could have an Aston Martin Rapide, I'd much rather drive this car around and slap an exhaust system on it. And every time you go through a tunnel, you sound like you're in a 90s Formula One car. JP, these cars are probably even softer than you can imagine. This car has fair miles and looks to be in fine driver's condition. This is really a value grab, in my opinion. So, JP, what do you think of the car? What do you think of the manual? What do you think of the value?
Yeah, it's good to kind of compare this to the Rapide that we talked about earlier in the show because, this car is borderline just regular used car territory. But the fact that it has 3 pedals makes this something actually special and worth talking about. This is a true enthusiast car. The BMW E39 M5s, the previous generation, were way more popular, are still more popular. They're a lighter, better looking car. This car is just kind of it's got the bangle design, and the much maligned designer from BMW of the era, who everyone's, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, there's got to be a meme of somewhere around of Bangle sitting there going, you guys miss me now? With how bad BMWs look. Because everyone would love to have Bangle come back at this point.
Yeah, Chris Bangle, they should superimpose him like having tea with Bush going, miss us now?
Right, exactly. We've all seen that meme. Right, so, but this car, I mean, as ugly as it is, it's still pretty good looking. It is a big, luxury saloon, a big old sedan, but 3 pedals and a V10 engine. This thing has got to be a hoot to drive. I've never driven one. I'd sure like to. But I don't think I'd pay a whole heck of a lot for one. Gerd, what do you think of these?
Yeah, it looks like a nice car. Isn't this the same gen that they had the M3? I think I may take an M3 that they put the V8 in, didn't they? With the bulge in the hood?
Let's see, what year is this one exactly? 08? This is an 08? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that'd be, was it E?
It seemed like I like the look of the M3 better than the M5. This looks like a standard sedan. I mean... But could you imagine even just like an M3 with the V8 and the manual and one of those things?
The E92, E94, or E90, E92 BMW M3s were really, really good looking cars, and a much lighter car with that V8, probably just a lot more of a spirited car. I'm with you, Gerd, but
I think one of those would be more sought after than maybe one of these with the V10 and just look kind of like a standard looking sedan.
Yeah. Can Doug DeMuro get it done? What's this car going to bring, Michael?
All right, JP. So basically, when you look at the market for these E60 M5s with the manual, the average seller price for these cars is a little over 40 grand. Let's call it $43,000 to $45,000. I just think the market is soft. I think this car's got a couple of miles on it. The dark blue, I don't know that it's going to have a broad appeal. And as rare as the M5 V10 manuals are, they don't bring a like surprisingly massive premium like we see in other cars from that same era. If this is a Ferrari F430 with a manual, it'd be worth twice as much money as the single clutch automatic. But that's not the case with these V10s. And so I think this car is not going to bring even its industry selling average. And I think this car is going to be a decent value at $37,000 where I think it will sell. I should say, JP, our car is sitting at $24,000 on 8 bids, and it closes a day from now. So 24 grand on 8 bids. I think it'll make it to 37 and sell on Cars and Bids. John, what's your bid?
I think it's a neat car. I think it's a great enthusiast car for not a lot of money. I love what Max says here. I see an expensive drift car. This would be one hell of a car to slide around a corner. I love that idea, but I think most of the drift guys want stuff that's less expensive. Not just less expensive to buy up front, but to get parts for. Messing up a V10
clutches
BMW and clutches on that is not going to be fun to make that payment. Look, this is Cars and Bids. Cars and Bids is not very strong. If this thing were on BAT, I'd be with you, Deeb, but I don't think the handful of people that are looking at this listing, I don't think there's enough people, I don't think there's enough eyeballs on Cars and Bids to get this car over the line. I think this thing's going to get to $27,000. Did you say this is a reserve or no reserve auction?
It's a reserve.
It is a reserve, yeah. So the big question at 27, will it even sell? I'm going to say, yeah. I think Cars and Bids is probably, it looks like Cars and Bids has been pretty aggressive with their reserves lately. They don't want cars not to sell. So if somebody's trying to sell this car, I would also guess that that's probably why it's on Cars and Bids, because I would bet that BAT wouldn't give them a reserve any higher than 27. Gerd, what do you think?
How many bids were there?
8 at 24,000.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Steve. I don't need to change my bid on this one. I'm going to go 35.
35. Well, you're right
all
underneath
right.
me. So JP splits the difference, but he's closer to me. I see some of the bids in the herd. Almost all of them are in the 30s, JP, except Anthony Vieira's at 28.5, so he's down there by you. But everybody else is in the 30s. So we'll see which of us is correct. JP, that is a wrap.
Well, hold on. I mean, I just wanted to mention real quickly too, though. Like Gert said, I mean, a BMW E90 or E92 isn't getting anywhere. I mean, at this point, with 68,000 miles, you're talking about a $25,000 car. I think these are way less popular than the E90, E92 M3s, don't you?
Well, yeah. So JP, just as a total tease ahead to our next show, we are going to look at an E9X M3 Coupe that is also on Cars and Bids. That car closes just after our next show. But right now, with 3 days to go, that car's sitting at $45,000 on 17 bids.
Okay.
With just it's a little bit lower miles, but it's a manual transmission. It's the same platform coupe with the carbon roof, just like we're talking. It's exactly the example that Gerd presented to us. So Gerd, ever the foreshadower, is already teased ahead our next car. Thanks, Gerd. Is there anything else you want to ruin for us? Is my wife leaving me and I don't know about
it?
Yeah, I mean, that's I guess at your guys' number, I think that says that the market's still pretty strong on something like this. And so it'll be interesting to see what the actual results will be. Hey guys, you got to check out our friends at Godden Porsche and Godden Classic of Las Vegas. If you're looking for parts or service, or if you want to add a classic Porsche or even a new Porsche to your collection, give Godden Classic a call. Guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair.
3 days later.
All right, JP, one of our favorites, an E60 M5 with the V10. This one, however, is equipped with a 6-speed manual, which makes it pretty rare. 68,000 miles on the odometer out of Hesperia, California. Revisiting the result of this car on Cars and Bids. JP, this was going to be a fun one for us because you had looked at an M6 convertible recently and cited this car as sort of a baseline. John, I thought this car would sort of hammer at just under the industry and average of like $44,000. My bid was 37. I thought it wouldn't break 40. You took the under by 10 grand at $27,000. And Gerd, our Yahtzee champ, was in studio, in the Romeo studio with you at the Container Park. JP, he split the difference between us again, but closer to me at $35,000. The result on this is interesting, JP. The hammer was $31,249. It failed to sell at that number on 19 bids. John, based on the sort of the bids we got from the herd and what me, you, and Gerd were talking about, I'm not so sure that that wasn't all the money and that this guy probably should have taken that number. At least Cars and Bids should have helped bridge the delta to make the guy whole at like $33,000 or $33,500 or something like that. JP, just so you're scoring this at home, you were at 27. Gerd was at 35. The car hammer is at 31,249. I had to get out my calculator. Gerd beat you to the win by $498, but it's very interesting how you guys split the difference on that one. So well done.
Why do I invite that guy? Gerd, come on, man. Give us a chance.
I told him on the last show it's the last time we'd ever see his face. Since none of us are buying a Chevy anytime soon, and he won't be invited back the way he keeps mopping the floor of the studio with us. But that's a couple of wins for Gerd on the last show. JP, what do you think of that result? I mean, look, according to if you look at this car on paper, this should have been just over $40,000 with a desirable color, reasonable miles, and a rare transmission. And yet this car couldn't be sold for $32,000. Like this is that's. I mean, the market is crumbling, John. That's my opinion. On a car like this, I don't think that this car was helped by being on Cars and Bids. I think Cars and Bids just isn't getting the eyeballs right now. This car isn't that special, but it is special enough to be able to bring more money than this. I think 31 grand just wasn't enough to do it, and I think the seller may have been smart not to let it go there and might try to do it again, see if he can get this car on BAT. There just aren't a ton of people looking for this generation of M5. Yeah, it's got the 6-speed manual. That's great, but it's just not a car that is like on anyone's list. You know, people, I think right now are still spending some money on special cars. I mean, again, I'll keep going back to that RWB at the top of the show. Failed to sell, but still brought $200,000 almost. That means there are people out there with money still looking to spend it on special stuff. I just don't think anyone thinks of an M5 from this generation, a 2008, as special. This is just not a car that's on anyone's radar, and you got to get it in front of a bunch of eyeballs someplace like BAT where someone's like, yeah, okay, I'd like to get kind of a special car, but I don't have that big money. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot these even exist. That is a cool car. Maybe you spark a couple of people to remind them that they're even out there, but no one's looking, no one's searching for this car. And I think that's the only way that Cars and Bids is selling anything right now, is if someone is searching for a specific car and they happen to find it on one of these lesser platforms, that's how a car is going to sell. But if it's not special, no one's searching for it, they don't get enough eyeballs, the car is just going to linger and die. It has to be on BAT at this point, or you're screwed. Yeah. That's my take on it. What do you guys think? Oh, you're going to have one more thing to say? Yeah. No, I was just going to agree with you. I think you're right.
Yeah. Well, let us know what you guys think out there in the Nerd Herd.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this clip from a live episode of Bid Nerds. We go live every Sunday and Wednesday night at 6:30, and you can join the conversation. We hope to see you on the next live episode of Bid Nerds.
Bid Nerds is your YouTube car game show.